You've lived a sinner's life. Now you've died a sinner's death. The Stygian sea rocks and sways beneath you. Another day aboard the worthy Mapple. The captain of said vessel bringing you aboard his crew, though you can no longer remember how long ago this happened or how you managed to find yourself here. Maybe you were always here. Regardless, you know why you're aboard. Legends, or so your captain says, of a hell whale are what brings you out to sea. Out of view of the devil, but firmly in the clutches of the most dangerous realms of his kingdom. A hell whale where, should you manage to kill it, chop it up and make stew of its bones, will grant you entry to heaven. Suffice to say, though, for however long you've been on the worthy Mapple, this decaying ship, you have never even gotten close. The howls of devil birds now nothing more than the background noise of your daily existence. Your immortal souls no longer occupy a physical vessel, but remembering and acting as if they do. You still hunger, you still crave, you still hurt, you still lust. In all but name, you still live. As such, you still sleep, you still dream, you still have nightmares and visions. One such nightmare brings us aboard another vessel, a shipping vessel. It is a dark, stormy, flaming night in this vision, same as it ever is. The eyes of this vision not yet seeing a boat, but instead being surrounded by writhing, squirming, angry fish. You don't belong here. You do belong here. Rahrah, amongst all these slippery demons, who do we see?
You see Roaden, unfortunately. Older man, tan, wearing simple fisherman leathers and bright blue eyes for no reason. The most beautiful thing about him are these nets that cover his body. They hook into him, they hold him close. They're impossible to find the end of. If you tried to, you'd see little hooks buried in his skin, little knots tied around his fingers so he'll never forget the piece of shit he is. And as he fades from a dream where he can still hear seagulls like it's buried deep in him from another time, and that turns into the devil birds and that foul song, his eyes wake up sad like every day. Already tired again, already so fucking tired again.
You are so fucking tired, tossing to and fro between sleep and conscious, never really knowing the difference between the two. In the dream you're having, your body flops onto this vessel, and you are amongst a sea of other wriggling fish. You've been plucked out of the ocean, essentially, and you are surrounded by small, dancing, cheering imps, tiny horned beasts with elongated tails and torched flesh, celebrating their capture of you. What do you do?
I'm gonna bury my face and try to go to sleep.
As you try to sleep, these little demon boys are just like dancing around you, chanting like demonic possessed school children, prodding at you with their pitchforks, holding your eyes open for you. Some of them just like laughing way too close to your face, just making a mockery of you and the fact that you're among the fish.
I guess I needed to go to school one day or another. I'll stand up so slow if I can. If they let me, these fuckers, if they let me, I'll bend my holy knees up to a steady, shaky stand and see what they want with me.
One of the imps is like kind of like holding their pitchfork over the back of their neck, like if they were like a baseball player or like some edgy anime sword boy or something, and it's just like looking at you and like speaking in a language you don't speak but you do understand, and they're saying like, this one doesn't look like a fish, but I bet it tastes like one. And they all start cheering, and they're like sharpening knives and getting a little fire pit ready.
Not fast enough, but I'll try to just make my way to the edge and jump into the sea of fish. I know they'll catch me. I'm covered in nets. I'm already caught. I'm a piece of shit.
You run to the edge of the ship. The imps are all just laughing, almost as if they expect you to do this every time. You jump overboard, and before you can feel water, you feel a shadow just kind of envelop you. You're not wet, you're not floating, you're just in darkness right now, and you see two beady little yellow dots in the shadow, and a big, like, darker yellow toothy grin appear in the shadow, and then Roaden, you wake up. Back on the Worthy Mapple, just like you always are.
The first heartbreak is how good it felt to be enveloped in something that didn't hurt. I don't care if it was dark, it was still mine for a moment. I'm so tired.
The room you sleep in is always dark. There are no windows, there's no light coming through, there's no natural light. This is hell. In this blackened room in a dark world where no light except that of the hellish flames of Hades can exist, we see another in sleep. Not so much soundly, but asleep. A body floating in an endless emerald green sea, the waters of which rip and tear and burn you. Relief is not something this floater has enjoyed in who knows how long. They return to this vision frequently, nightly. Ivy, whose body do we see being tossed and turned in the poisoned ocean?
In the poisoned ocean, you see a woman dressed in greens and blacks. The poisonous acid is water licking at the gown that she's wearing. Her hair is normally, frequently in an updo, however, it flows freely, kind of just sitting on top of this ocean, not quite sinking as it is too acidic. She lays back in it, and you see Annette Ellison, a very she would be considered beautiful, and I think in her own dreams she was considered beautiful, but in reality her eyes are sunken and her jaw almost clicks when she speaks on occasion. There is something, an eeriness that doesn't quite fit like an uncanny valley as she floats in this ocean. Accepting the fate, she knows why she's here, and she kind of just lays back and attempts to enjoy it the best she can.
What goes through Annette's head when she's floating? As you've been on this ocean for, you don't even remember how long at this point. You know it burns and stings. You can't even be certain what the back of your body or your clothes even looked like at this point, if they're even still there. What goes through your mind as you float through this day after day, night after night?
I should have done more.
After an ungodly amount of time, your skin feeling as if it's only ever known this level of pain, a small ship putters up beside you. You see the waters eating at the bottom of it. It does not seem long for this world, and yet it stops next to you. And what you will see out of the corner of your eye, if you will allow yourself, is a sludge black dripping hand attached to a shadow's body as it extends itself out to you.
Yeah, she will allow her gaze to drift to the figure, take in kind of what she can, the best she can, from where she lays in this pool of acid, and then she'll reach her hand up.
You grab it. It feels like tar. Nothing you're unaccustomed to, given how much you've been burning for the last possible eternity. And as your body lifts up out of the ocean, you see two deep, yellow, piercing eyes and a deeper yellow smile grinning back at you as you are welcomed aboard this ship. And it says to you in this dark tone, it sounds like it would be a different flavor of voice than what you're accustomed to hearing from this figure usually, but it says to you,
"Hello. Big fan of your work."
Oh, hello. Quite lovely to meet you. Where are we headed? Anywhere is more interesting than here.
We are headed to salvation, my friend.
and then you wake up. You see Roaden has already woken up before you. Sometimes he does this, sometimes he doesn't. but you two are now making eye contact with each other through the darkness of your sleeping quarters.
Oh, good morning.
For the first time? Or is this just another day?
Another day. You two are familiar with each other. You've been on this ship for who knows how long.
Mm-hmm. Morning. Is it morning?
Anything's morning if you're cheerful enough, I suppose.
Fucking damn it.
Aw, smile. It's a new day. Things could be a lot worse.
I'm gonna pull the net over my head despite the pain in my lower back where those hooks are usually connected.
Annette, you almost feel the acid burns all across the reverse of you. Again, maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But alas, there are more dreams. A man stands atop an infinite pole, the flaming waves of hell nipping at his ankles and legs despite standing as high as a man could. A single step in any direction would send him plummeting below into the grasps of several millions of desperate grasping hands with wretched nails. His hands are tied behind him, forced to keep the stoic posture he would have used in life. Cannons constantly firing in the distance, constantly firing from directly behind him, constantly firing at him next to his ears. Jenny, what wretched sinner do we see atop this column?
Fleet Admiral Jacques Noir stands tall and ready, as he ever has, ready to command the vessels that he never could in life. Yet he finds none. He shouts into the infinite void of hell. I've suffered worse storms than this in my bloody sleep. There is nothing you can throw at me I've not already weathered. I've fought the English. I've fought the Italians. You cannot sway me from my post. Give me your all, I say. Come on!
You have been facing an unseen enemy for as long as you can remember, screaming into the abyss for someone to rise up and challenge you legitimately, and yet no one ever has. You've only heard the cannons, you've never seen the cannonballs, you've never seen the flames of a ship, you've only heard the ravages of war. But in this stream tonight, something feels different. You can almost feel a body hovering behind you, one whispering in your ear.
It's not that far down, you know.
One step into oblivion and you call me a coward. I shall stand at my post until I am damn well good and ready.
When will that be?
As long as it fucking takes.
What if it takes for fucking ever?
Then I shall stand at my post until my knees buckle and my ankles dissolve.
What if there was another way?
Curious. What do you have in mind?
Look down.
You look down, you don't see the arms. You just see a black, shadow-filled void. In the very, very far distance, two tiny glowing yellow lights, almost like the early signs of a lighthouse.
A captain knows when to port to safe harbor. An admiral knows when to order said captain to take him there. He simply gives a nod, and to his new captain he finds oblivion and takes a single step forward into the black.
You know those dreams where it feels like you're falling forever and you're about to hit the ground and you jerk awake screaming? Imagine that, but the sudden feeling that you're going to land never comes. You keep waiting and embracing for something to happen, and yet, Admiral, you just hear the sounds you're familiar with. Waves crashing against you, cannons going off, the French national anthem being played poorly by a young man with a French horn. And then, all at once, it just comes upon you suddenly without warning. You see a big, huge, open, yellow mouth. You fall inside of it, and then you wake up.
He just shoots straight up like a 90-degree angle. No scream, no nothing. He's just up now.
You see Annette and Roaden.
He just kind of adjusts the lapels of his uniform and puts his hands behind his back and stands up. Another early day.
Oh, good morning, doll. How'd you sleep?
I slept. Let's get to it.
One of these days, you all will stop being so grumpy this early in the morning.
I'm not grumpy. Who said I was grumpy?
You're always grumpy, darling. You're also kind of grumpy this morning.
Now, of course, some arise early, some get lost in their visions, some might even have pleasant dreams. In the depths of sleep, church bells. A congregation gathers at an ornate, well-kept cathedral. In this dream, the flames of hell seem distant, even staved off. People come here to worship, the young, the old, the small, the tall, from all walks of life. It is your turn to preach the homily, Deacon. Won't you come and share God's wisdom before the sermon? Ross, who is preparing the homily on this Sabbath day?
Deacon Ernesto Alon is a well-put-together, middle-aged Filipino man. He looks like the manifestation of the Spanish colonial ideal. He's a mousy kind of man with his hair swept back and to the left, and his white cotton shirt is bright white and perfectly pressed. Diagonally over one shoulder and across his chest is a gold and green silk stole, a flat scarf of sorts that displays his position. As Ernesto walks up to the pulpit, tired from serving the poor, pariahs, and political dissidents in the morning, he looks over to Father Bustamante, the opulent oaf enrobed in gold investments, bathing in privilege and power. He also looks over to the congregation. He sees his wife and his kids, a bright and shining, painful reminder of why he doesn't wield the power that he wants. But that doesn't matter at this moment, because right now, he holds everyone's attention.
You sure do.
And you approach the pulpit, given the blessing of Father Bustamante, who just aggressively pats your shoulder and escorts you up there as if he sees himself as a father figure that maybe you don't reciprocate, and you are guided into a packed house. The church is full to bursting this morning as you deliver your homily. What do you tell them?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Brothers and sisters in Christ, in today's gospel, we hear the Apostle Luke speak to us about the importance of words. He says that anyone who openly declares himself for Christ in the presence of human beings, the Son of Man will declare himself for that person in the presence of God's angels. Now, you might ask, why would the Almighty Son of God stick up for us in the court of angels? It's because words have meaning. They are the catalysts of purpose and the stones on the path to salvation. Words rooted in faith, brothers and sisters, is the exhalation of our souls. So before synagogues and magistrates and authorities, even in the face of death, honor your God. You whose bodies may be weak and frail, racked with despair, or burdened by hopelessness, the Lord sees the strength of your hearts. Praise loudly, defy joyfully, trade with rapturous ambition your pain for the glory of the Father in heaven. Words have meaning, brothers and sisters. When the time arrives, what will you say?
You conclude your homily, and you feel a kind hand on the back of your shoulder, not one you recognize, though. There is a priest standing next to you. You haven't seen this priest before. They lean up close to you. They have bright yellow eyes and teeth that look like they could desperately use a brushing. And they whisper into your ear,
Now, Deacon, who do you think you're kidding?
and as you hear that word, kidding, You look out into the congregation, you hear everything in your native tongue, and the congregation all start to rise simultaneously, their bodies and faces morphing and shifting into the monsters and demons you've been preaching against your entire career, taking various sizes, shapes, some familiar, some unfamiliar, some you've seen in dreams, some you've only feared in your wildest imagination, and they grow closer and closer to you. You try to move your legs, you try to raise your voice and protest. Nothing happens.
The Lord is my strength, I shall not fear. Our Father, who... No, I'm so close. I'm so close to power, you can't take this away from me. I refuse.
And then you wake up. Almost muttering the Lord's Prayer to yourself. And you see Jacques, Annette, and Roaden.
Good morning. Blessings to
Good
you.
morning, Deacon.
Oh, God damn it.
Trouble sleeping again, say that.
Yeah.
Are you all right? You seem a little out of sorts.
Deacon Ernesto looks down at the numerous wounds that still bleed, arrows piercing through his body, through his neck and his arms and his chest. He tries again to pull an arrow out to stop the bleeding, but underneath his hand, a new wooden shaft and iron arrowhead appears. And he says, I am exactly how I was yesterday. So, but thank you for your concern, Annette.
Well, of course. The other two are grumpy, as always. So, just wanted to check in, that's all.
I appreciate it, truly.
They really stuck it to you.
Multiple times,
As Roaden has said every morning for the last 400 mornings.
And every morning after you say Annette is still annoyed. Like, there's still a look of, okay.
Well,
I guess
daily
it's time
tasks
to
aren't
get
going to
up.
get done sitting around doing this nothing charade. Let's get to work.
The minute you say daily tasks, the ship bell starts going off, and you know it is your time to rise. Luckily, you are in hell. You don't have to change your clothes, you don't have to wash your face, you don't have to do any of that stuff, because you appear exactly as you demised in life. And there's no changing that. You head topside. Standing in front of you, as he always is your captain, Captain Mudge. Captain Mudge dresses in all black. He wears dark black boots, a pair of slacks that have not faded from the ocean winds, an overcoat, and a buttoned-up black shirt, just unbuttoned at the top so you can see his piercing white skin, almost as if he's mocking the priest's collar. He has an unkempt, unflattering dark beard that only appears black on account of dirt and grime. He has 2 piercing yellow eyes and a dark yellow grin. The only visible parts of his skin are his mockery of the priest's collar and the parts of his face that shine through a disheveled beard and the top half of his face. He is standing with his arms behind him, grinning the unsettling grin he has every morning. Good morning, shipmates. How are we?
Good morning, Captain. At least you're also not apparent to be grumpy this morning. Wonderful.
Another beautiful day on the Stygian Sea, Annette. What's there to be sad about?
Well, you can ask the other two as I glance to my my shipmates.
Admiral, Roaden, what's bothering ye?
Still waiting for the day that you accept your place, Captain.
I'm right where I ought to be. Floor
I'm
hand.
just a little tired, sir.
Oh, did you not sleep well? Again?
I never sleep well.
A pity, because we have lots to do today. As you know, it's rations day. We have to get all rations for the remainder of the trip, you see. Can't be hunting whales on an empty stomach. But before we begin, I think it's only fitting. Deacon, do you have any words of wisdom for us to start our day today?
Fuck.
Of course. He actually does quietly to himself, because he realizes he's in the pits of hell. He does the sign of the cross.
It hurts a little.
Every touch of his fingers, it like burns. And he whispers a Hail Mary to himself and says, many hands make light work, and I pray that our hands are blessed with fortune and perseverance and whatever joy that we can pull up from the sea.
I never get tired of hearing it. It never gets old. It's funny. He claps his hands together, and when he claps his hands together, it kind of sounds like a toddler slapping mud. And he goes, well, first things first, we have some fishing to do. Any volunteers for the nets? And he like stares at Roaden, almost like he's telling a joke and wants you to laugh at it.
May the hypocrites be blessed, for even they will pray in hell. And I'll start wandering to the nets.
Grab your fishing gear. You should have enough tools and weaponry for about 20 or so uses each. Does that sound fair to you?
I mean, fine, yeah.
Solemn nods from the congregation, my favorite thing to see. So, now for my own GM benefit here's how mechanically your day is operating. You all currently have 0 souls, but you will have what are called weapon supplies. Weapon supplies can be spent the same way souls can, so any action you want to take that involves combat or anything that harms something, you can use a weapon supply to do so, which will be handy because you're about to catch fish for your week's rations. As per usual, Hellwhalers, there are ways to earn souls if you want to be nasty about it, and I am now opening up the full mechanics of Hellwhalers to you now that you are aboard the Worthy Mapple. So, to earn souls, there are a few different ways you can do this. You can clear what are called knots, achieving and finishing off objectives that I, your captain, will be giving you. To clear a knot, it costs souls. To earn souls, you can make moves, specifically weak ones. If you show weakness, if you are cruel, if you are mean, if you do a move that dictates weakness, you are rewarded with souls. Anytime you buck against Hell's nature, though, it'll cost you a soul by making a strong move. You also have what are called regular moves. These cost you nothing. They earn you nothing. You can just do them. In this game, you won't be rolling dice so much as you will be spending souls and weapon supplies. So use your supplies wisely, because you will need them later. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about fishing. Roaden, since you so graciously went to get the nets, I'm going to have you roll a d6 for me.
Beautiful. That's a 5.
Roaden, you get the nets. What is everyone else's responsibility in fishing? We'll start with you, Admiral.
Well, I am the most recently hired member of the ship, so my responsibilities primarily are the shit that nobody else wants to do.
The floor hand, if you will.
So, once the fish are caught, generally speaking, my task is to clean them, gut them, and prepare them for the galley.
Annette, what do you do? What's your responsibility?
Yeah, while the fish are being caught, Annette normally is one to lend a hand wherever she's most needed out of the goodness of her heart, she says. Truly, she just doesn't trust the rest of you to do anything. So she will fly around wherever she feels like she's most needed, whether that's gutting fish, whether that is helping pull in a net, whether that is just untangling something that has been left. She's very particular in keeping everything clean.
And finally, Ernesto, what's your job?
Yeah, Ernesto's a bit of a stocky fellow, so he helps pull the net. Sometimes his help isn't required, but sometimes it's pretty significant. So he's the second hand to Roaden, so to speak.
I hate when Annette touches the nets because that's 3 nets with my nets, and that's a bad fucking omen, so I'd appreciate it if they didn't.
You and Ernesto and Annette, trying to get her hands in there, trying to appear helpful, toss the net into the Stygian Sea. It's a hell net. It does not suffer the acid and flames and torture that a mortal corpse would. It's just a net. It's in there. And it's a draw for fish and sea creatures to come. But as any good fisher will tell you, sometimes that can take a while. So the 4 of you have an opportunity to discuss your situation, reacquaint yourself with each other, possibly assert your authority over one another, what little of it you have. What do you talk about while you wait for your fish?
I'd like to do the weak move, suffer needlessly.
Perfect place to do that. How do you suffer needlessly? And I'll give you a soul for it.
I'm gonna sit down in my nets right after we toss the nets and just be overwhelmed with all these nets. And whichever one of them is the closest, I'm just gonna start ranting at in this slow, steady pace of like, it's just fucking terrible. Like, we just do the same goddamn shit every day, and I don't even like to eat fish that goddamn much. And why are you walking away from me? And just kind of throw a tantrum in these nets, which produces pain in his body, which makes him tired, which makes him want to lay fucking down. And I'm just gonna suffer for a while. It can go on as long as you need it.
I think as like Ernesto's pretty close to you, Roaden, and he like witnesses this happening on a daily occasion, so he gives you the space to like feel those feelings, and after a moment he walks over and says, Roaden, it's okay to rest. It's okay to rest.
As me being the weary, you get a soul when you remind me to rest.
That's right.
But in reality, I don't hear anything you say. I just look at your arrows and imagine playing them like a little harp, and that makes me happier.
I think they protrude out in a way that you could probably do that.
Oh, I've thought about it.
Yeah.
Everyone has a white whale.
Yeah. And Ernesto sees you doing like air harp fingers, and he like steps away because that's actually more of a painful reminder than the actual arrows themselves. That like that moment can be taken lightly. And he says, "If you need help, I'll be here."
I don't need any help.
I know, but if you need it, it's there. And Ernesto like walks back to his position, and he mutters to himself, "Even if he asked, would I help him? I don't know."
You return to your post, and you are finding yourself next to Annette, who has taken over for Roden's post since he is throwing a tantrum on the ground.
Truly. Which translates perfectly because I can use the weak move. Try to fix something that isn't yours to fix.
Marvelous.
He did these next wrong. She looks exasperated. She is untangling something that is not tangled, but she really doesn't understand nets. She does not understand fishing. She was not a lady who really participated in that. She's just like, obviously this is incorrect. This is so wrong. She's muttering to herself that this is a daily occurrence. Really, it's fine. She looks at me. She's like, is he throwing a tantrum again?
It seems to be the case, yes. Annette, would you like... And Ernesto like thinks about it for a second, and he's going to use the weak move, take the easy way out. And he says, you're fantastic at that. Thank you. We're very grateful for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to be appreciated, so thank you.
Of course.
Do you need any help with anything? I know that as she looks over her shoulder at the temper tantrum that is happening in the nets. Do you need anything? I saw that you were speaking to him, but can I do anything for you?
It's a funny question, Annette, that you and I, we try and ask if people require a hand or a shoulder to rest on. And Ernesto looks over to, like, the burning Black Sea. But, like, we're here. He just kind of brushes that thought away. Short answer is no. I'm well. Thank you for asking.
Well, if I can assist in any way, that's kind of what I'm here for.
Oh, for fuck's sakes! The two of you aren't getting anything fucking done if you just stand there and flirt! Get out of my fucking way! And I just, like, start pulling up the nets just angrily.
Well, Admiral, every time I flirt in your direction, you yell at me, so I have to get that fill elsewhere.
I'm gonna take a regular action here and ask someone to fuck off.
That is a regular action you can take. I was just taking a look at your weak moves to see if you screaming at them was one, and no, you just do that, huh?
I mean, technically that could be ruin morale with your words if you want to.
Yeah, I'll consider that, just screaming at them. So yeah, you take that in a weak action, and make your ask someone to fuck off regular action. Go ahead.
You know what? If the two of you are just gonna stand here and be useless all day, you can both fuck off.
Yeah.
Admiral, there's no fish in the nets. You're welcome to pull it up, but...
Of course there's fish in the nets. There's always bloody fish in the nets. And I just start pulling up the net.
As you pull up the net, you all very quickly realize the Admiral was right. But there isn't just any fish in that net. There's a razor shark in that net. A razor shark, as it implies, is a shark, but it is sharp as hell, as opposed to normal sharks, which are smooth as hell. But this razor shark is covered in barbed wire, rose thorns, razor blades. Its teeth look like knives. It is difficult to handle. It is difficult to hold. It's a miracle the nets made it, and it is now on your ship. You four all collectively get one move you can make. Making moves will cost you either a soul or a weapon supply. If you can get this razor shark down to 0 HP, congratulations, you have food for the week. But it can take its own turn when you're done.
Oh, bollocks.
Well, you were correct. There is indeed a fish. Congratulations. What would you like to do with it?
Show us how it's done, Admiral.
I'm gonna use a strong move. Is that a possibility?
So to take an action against the shark, it will cost you a soul or a weapon supply. So making a strong move does cost you a soul, so we're going to translate that strong move into what you do to the shark. I'm willing to hear you out.
Okay. One of my strong move options is called Strike Like Lightning.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm just gonna, as you do with the shark, as I would know from many, many years of seafaring experience, you gotta go for, like, that little soft spot on its noggin to kind of, like, you know, incapacitate it. So I'm just gonna, like, strike like lightning, hand fist, doesn't matter what the hell is in my way, I'm just gonna try and kill this thing.
Yeah, you do a hit point of damage to it.
Just one? Oh, fuck.
Well, I'll be clear. Like, doing anything to a thing is always one.
Okay, cool.
There's no mechanics to the attacks. It's literally you do a thing to it, it takes a point of damage. There's nothing you have to roll. There's nothing I have to roll. It just happens. This is more a question of how long will it take you to beat it, and is it worth it to beat it? So the shark takes a point of damage. You punched a razor shark. It is covered in razors and blades and thorns and things that cut you up.
I'm not smart.
You pull your hand up. It is covered in your own blood and a little bit of this blackish greenish hue. So you know you did some damage to that shark. That's razor shark blood.
I'm just holding my fist like it's trembling. It's like, anybody else want to give it a try?
And I take 1 soul from the Admiral.
I'd like to grab like a fisherman pike, like a long pole with a sharp end, because obviously, look at this thing, fucking Admiral. And I'd like to stand a ways back and just try to jab it straight in the head, but I would use a weapon supply for that.
Of course.
But I would like to combo this with my weak move in overexert myself, because I'm so fucking tired. So I would like to spend a weapon supply but gain a soul in this combo moment, if possible.
Fair trade, using a weak move to use a weapon supply. Yeah, you're... Now, I will flavor this. The 3 of you see Roaden stand up with a fisherman's pike attacking the shark, and it's kind of jarring and shocking.
Old man scary.
You know, I never will quite get used to the scene of this.
Yeah, you see an old man jabbing a razor shark. The shark is wriggling to and fro. It takes a hit point of damage, and it almost seems to be making like simultaneous eye contact at Annette and Ernesto, just waiting to see what happens to it next.
And I don't scream, I just whisper like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
You almost feel like you can hear it back from the shark. There's a little tiny shark voice going, fuck you.
I like when they know what I'm doing to them.
Ernesto runs over to a harpoon gun that's nearby, but he realizes that there's no harpoons by it. He looks over to the Admiral, who's responsible for keeping all of these equipment and things in order, and he just says, okay. And he pulls a really long arrow from his body and puts it into the harpoon gun. And rather than necessity and rather than survival, at the tip of this arrow is all of Ernesto's hate and anger and frustration. I'd like to also use the weak move, sin as all men do, and I'd like to shoot the shark, not with the desire to eat it, but for it to die.
Which of course is a sin.
Which is, yeah.
Wishing
like
harm on a
intention
living
of
creature.
murder. Yeah.
Yeah, you fire the arrow at the shark. It hits it right in the beady little black eye that it has. A little tiny black juice coming out of it. And you feel weirdly happy that you did that. You unleashed your hate and anger on a living creature. And as you're reveling in that emotion, a new arrow launches itself right where the old one was. From seemingly nowhere, the sky, the ocean, the depths itself. You get pierced by an arrow.
I'll never get used to that.
It doesn't harm you, though. This is something that just happens to you.
Annette, having watched their 3 companions bravely, take an arrow from themselves as well as harpoon it, everything else, takes the easiest of routes and goes for the paring knife that you would use to clean the fish. And it's just like, I don't understand why we're being very extravagant about it, but she'll take the knife and just stab it in the eyeball, like in the other eye opposite from Ernesto. She'll just stab it. Like, I don't understand the theatrics to this. However, that is her contribution. One hand is like holding up the end of her skirt, like to avoid getting blood on it, and the other hand is holding the small paring knife as she stabs into it.
I love the implication of, like, I don't know why y'all are going this fucking growth journeys or whatever. We're stabbing a shark. You stab it in the other eye. If this shark could see, you couldn't know. You're not a shark. It sure can't now. A green ooze coming out of this other eye. Which brings me to the shark's turn. I roll a d6. I refer to the table. I roll a 1. It snaps its jaws menacingly, wanting to be intimidating, wanting you all to respect the fact that it is a shark, a beast of the sea in hell, something mortals should fear. But it can just snap menacingly. How you react to that is up to you, but that is the shark's turn, and it goes back to the Admiral.
Well, Admiral don't give a shit. This is just another day in hell for him. Way he figures it, might as well just continue trying to attack this here shark. He's gonna stumble headfirst into danger. He's gonna try and grab a weapon.
Is that your weak move? Stumble headfirst into danger?
Yeah. I need my souls back.
Everyone is starting to learn the game of the game. Okay, yes, so you stumble headfirst into danger. What's dangerous about what you're doing?
Well, he's getting close to the mouth of the shark. So, while it's just kind of like gnashing its teeth menacingly, it's like, it's dangerous to be near a shark who's upset. He doesn't give a fuck, though. You can't double die in hell.
But Admiral, you can. Which would be a good time for me, the god of you four, to let you know that this game, you can die. And you die as a unit. You can take crew harm. Some knots have consequences that inflict crew harm. To indicate crew harm, I mark a letter on the collective claimed table. So CLA, etc., etc. Once you hit 0 letters remaining, once you spell claimed, the crew member that is affected by the final marking has perished, and the word starts over and your game is over. So just keep that in mind. If you put yourself in harm's way, if you get harmed, if you're the one who spells out the word claimed at the very end, even if you did nothing wrong before that, your fault, you die. So, can you double die in hell? Yes. That being said, you go to the shark's mouth.
Yeah, I'm gonna, try and stab it.
You try and stab it. You spend a weapon supply to stab it. You stab it in the teeth. Some of its shards break like a glass chandelier. There's now shark teeth scattered across the thing. You once again damage your hand. You keep putting it where glass is.
Can't help it.
But that isn't a situation that inflicts crew harm. This is just, you have a fucked up flavored hand.
Yeah, it fits. I already have a fucked up eye and a glass eye in the other.
I'd like to do the weak move, shirk a responsibility and not do anything.
Alright, Roaden, you skip your turn. Tell me what you're doing instead.
I'm just taking a quick breather.
Annette and I'll say all three of you, you watch Roaden just kind of glance over at the shark and just lay their head back down.
When I meant rest, Roaden, I didn't mean now.
I'd like to do the weak move, why should I? Why shouldn't I rest right now?
I'm gonna use the weak move. Castigate other mortals for their failings. So,
I love this game.
he just shot this, Ernesto just shot this shark with the intention to kill, so his soft features and his round face has become sullen and sharp. It's like watching an anime protagonist turn into an anime villain.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he says, "You weak motherfucker, get the hell up and do the work that is required of you. If we starve because of your iniquities, I will personally burn you in the fires that are right across this bow. Get up right now."
A little like geyser of flame comes out of the ocean when you point at it, like it's egging you on.
If I could do the strong move for one soul of let an enjoyable moment linger right now, I would like him to continue to berate me.
Hey, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Would you say technically, Ernesto, that you're standing by my split-second decision of yanking this shark onto our ship and
yeah.
telling me to kill it?
Absolutely.
You gain a soul.
Oh.
for basically siding with me.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Ernesto's
We gotta-
riddled with the things.
You're taking the bait of my lure, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm there.
Free soul for you, sir.
After getting seconds from Ernesto, I would stand up and respond to the shame blow.
So you get back up. Ernesto, you are so preoccupied with berating Roaden for their laziness. It's almost the shark leaves your mind. So Annette,
Yeah.
the
Annette?
boys be fighting. What are you doing?
The boys do be fighting, and this is common. I'm so used to this behavior that she is actually humming to herself, "It is well with my soul," as she continues to just stab the knife down the shark. Still one hand like holding a bundle of the bottom of her dress as she's just like almost nonchalantly and daintily just sliding it down the side of the shark, just It is well. It is well.
It is well with your soul. Your soul is happiest when it inflicts pain. You hit the shark again. It takes another point of damage, and then the shark gets its own chance to do what it needs to do. It is also struggling for survival after all. Why should you consider yourselves more important than the beasts of the sea? I roll a d6. And I roll another 1. I can't believe this. You're going to get away scot-free with this one. The shark is close to its second death. That's right, I am implying that sharks can die and go to hell. And it is opening and closing its jaws like a broken mini golf machine that's grasping onto the last oil it has in its system. It's still trying to snap at you menacingly, but it can't bring itself to make any real, true action. I will give early precedence to either the Admiral or Annette to make another move on the shark.
I think I was supposed to say, I think I'll look over to the Admiral, just be like, Admiral, if, you wouldn't mind, I am trying to avoid getting any more residue on my dress. It is very hard to clean.
I refuse to change course.
Is that
I'm taking that as my weak move.
Great. and how do you do so?
Well, I'm still being violent against this shark. This thing has to die. That's just kind of the name of the game right now. So I'm just kind of like plunging my, I guess, my blade into this thing's skull and just like kind of like trying to twist, get its brains in there, like fucking die, damn you!
The Admiral finally uses a weapon supply and
long enough, eh?
kills the razor shark. You see whatever life may have been in its stabbed eyes drain out of it. All of its teeth as the eyes roll back into its head, going from black to gray, all simultaneously fall out of its mouth as if it's doing you, specifically, a favor. Congratulations, you've earned 5 food supplies. Ahoy and avast, ye scurvy dogs. It is I, your captain. It's Grant, and I'm here to tell you about some shows that are good to maybe take your mind off of things that are happening tomorrow. Starting with our friends over at 5 GMs in a Trench Coat.
5 GMs in a Trench Coat is back. And this time with Season 3, as GM Tanlin uses Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for her story.
Imagine the stench of fear, of sweat and of blood, cold stone beneath your palm as you feel your way down an impossibly dark and endless hallway. Here there's as much fear as there is isolation, and as much hopelessness as there is violence, or at least fantasies of it.
Join Callan Omoris Caldwell, played by Adam Gonzalez, Reen Sato, played by Kim Siyuki, 2.5 Horns, played by Jesse Espinoza, and Onder Madison, played by Tanner Sherlock, as they navigate the kingdom of Miltant and the horrors that await them.
So you guys hear, like, an alarm bell, like, fucking, all the doors go, shadunk! And then you also hear, like, coming from the ceiling.
5 Gems in a Trench Coat is a TTRPG actual play podcast where 5 friends take turns weaving stories through the tabletop game of their choice each season, with new episodes out every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
We are in Silent Hill. It was just a joke before!
I have unironically, added shadunk to my daily vocabulary because of this trailer. The show is really great. Of course it is. It's 5 GMs in a Trench Coat. When do they ever miss? I'm very picky with Dungeons & Dragons, as people know quite well with me. And of course they knock it out of the park. Of course Tamlin's a brilliant game master. Crew's a lot of fun. Go listen to them right now. 3rd season just got started. So go tell them we sent you and they'll be really happy. Make our friends happy. I'll kill you. Next, our friends over at Interrogation.
Hello, and welcome to Interrogation, where guidance will always find you when you need it. I am your guide, and today I'm joined by...
I am Eli.
I'm Grant Nordine.
It's Basil.
Tell us a little bit about Who we're gonna be talking to today?
We're going to be talking to Ig.
Alouette Belair.
We're going to meet Erla.
This would be a good time to actually get into the reading. And they're gonna turn over the Ace of Wands, the reverse Seven of Coins, the Wheel of Fortune. Goblins and Gaze presents Interrogation, where we learn about a character's story and read some cards for them to see what their past, present, or future may entail. You can find us everywhere online at Interrogate or wherever you listen to your podcast. Guidance will always find you, whether you like it or not.
That's friend of the show, Dusty Hill, doing one of the coolest and more innovative TTRPG interview talk shows that I've gotten to hear in a long time. And I got to be on it. I was just on the Halloween episode with my sweet boy Io from Bella's Comments. So you can go listen to that right now if the prospect of just trying something new isn't enough to sell you. You can also hear me, a person you know and trust, on a good show. And now, without further ado, I bring you back to Hellwhalers. You successfully vanquished the Razor Shark, Admiral, as per your duties. This is going to be a lot like when you catch a pufferfish and you have to like cut it the right way, because if you eat it wrong it poisons you, but if you hit the sweet spot it's like healthy. So you are cutting up this Razor Shark as is your duty. Tell me what you're doing, how you do that.
Well, I'm going to take a look-see here.
Listen, this isn't a mechanical thing. I'm asking you how you do it.
Oh, okay. So he's spent a good chunk of his rage and his anger for the day just, fighting a shark. So he's kind of on a slightly less pissed off mood at the moment. So he's just kind of being careful, making sure he's making the right cuts, because he also needs to eat for the day, for the week. He understands that he has physical needs and limitations. So for the first time in a good long while, you just see him kind of like in a zen, just cutting this fish up.
A peaceful Admiral, Jacques Noir,
is a happy moment for the rest of the ship.
And a shark.
And a shark.
Your zen, however, is interrupted by the sound of cannon fire.
Just shoots straight up in the air, just like looking around.
Now, ordinarily, Admiral, when you hear cannon fire, that could be your past traumas, it could be a nightmare, it could be a dream, it could just be you remembering what it's like to be alive. But the other three of you also hear it this time.
For the first time?
For the first time. You've never heard cannon fire in hell before.
Batten down the hatches, raise the sails, we're under a fucking attack!
There are other ships?
Captain Mudge appears from below deck, and he is holding a hellish-looking sword at his side. It looks like it could be like, Admiral, that's something that you would be accustomed to, a saber, if you will, but the blade itself is red and has jutting thorns coming out of it in the shapes of horns and razors and things of that nature, and he is holding it close, being like, all right, I suppose it's time I tell him I'm a very wanted man, and we're going to have to defend this ship to the death. And I mean to the death. Look ye fast that way. And you do see another much bigger, definitely not a fishing ship. This is a war ship. This is something that is used to hunt and capture criminals, which at the moment you four are considered to be. And you hear a voice pierce through the black fog that hangs on the Stygian Sea, and you see a figure standing proudly, boldly, and terrifyingly at the head of the ship. This figure stands topless with a long descending beard similar to what an Old Testament prophet would have. The beard is made of locusts. This is Captain Alvar Bildad. And Alvar calls out to you and says, Captain Mudge, we have come to reclaim your wretched soul and those who you have captured. No longer will you hunt. It is time to return to the depths of the Stygian Sea where your damned souls belong. Captain Mudge smiles at all of you and says, well, sounds like we get first chance to retaliate, mates. I'm going to tell you, with a ship encounter, this is an objective where you have a knot to clear. And I'm going to give you, the crew, the option to know. Would you like to know how many souls it takes to accomplish this mission?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
This is Knot 8. Alvar Bildad's ship. Alvar Bildad's ship is a warship. You have to do battle with it. It is very much the same as when you were attacking the fish. You can choose to spend souls, weapon supplies, either to do something to the opposing ship. It just takes 8 of those kinds of moves to do that thing. And once again, at the end of your 4 turns, I will roll a d6 and act on the table. This is one of those events where you can very much so take damage to what is called your seaworthiness. Similar to your crew health, if I spell out the word wreck, the ship sinks, and you have no boat on the Stygian Sea. So, with that out of the way, the ship comes closer into view, and you can see now the name of the ship. Its figurehead seems to be an old man withering to the bones, encased in bronze, and you see the name of the ship is the Friend of Job. Which brings me to you, Hellwhalers. How do you fight the Friend of Job?
I believe the Admiral would ask someone to act now. It's a strong action. It's gonna cost me a soul to do.
Okay.
I would try to order my inferiors, who in his mind is everyone, but specifically the captain, to man whatever cannons we have to try and fire at that ship.
I'd piggyback his order with a regular move, so just a neutral spend of asking, whose job is this? Like, who does what when we fight? Have we...
Your job now if you don't get your fucking act together!
Oh, you're so dull.
Captain Mudges grins at the Admiral and goes, "You're not the boss of me. What are you going to do about it? How do you fight that ship?"
Well, since it's the only idea he has, he's gonna go try to man the cannons.
You go to where you think the cannons should be, and then it dawns on you. This is a fishing vessel. Your options are harpoon guns and your imaginations.
I start laughing.
Well, that bit me on the ass.
Admiral, you did spend a strong action, so you go downstairs. You find no cannons. You do find harpoon guns.
It'll have to work.
You launch a harpoon gun into the Friend of Job. The Friend of Job, you launch it, it sails through the sky for a moment, and you hear a piercing, "Ah!" You hit someone.
I got somebody. Are we cannibals? Can we eat that guy?
Up to you.
Oh my god.
You're in hell.
I love that this was not pre-established, and now we have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wait, are we cannibals? Weird.
Can we eat that guy?
What line do we draw it for our characters?
I'm just kind of like reeling in the harpoons, like, food's food.
Oh, you're bringing in the harpoon, hoping to bring a body with you?
Well, you said I got a guy. I didn't
you know
hit
what?
ship,
Fair
so
enough.
I have to
I
fire
did say
again.
that, so let's do this.
That's
Okay.
true.
You start reeling the harpoon gun in. It's heavy. It has the weight of a body on it. You see a demon imp from the ship as you reel it on, and it flops onto the deck.
Oh, it's an imp, so it's not cannibalism.
It's an
Yeah,
imp.
fair game. Let's eat this guy.
I'd like to spend a soul to do work smarter, not harder.
Cool.
And shoot a harpoon gun at the figurehead on the other ship, because fuck them.
You fire a harpoon gun, spending a soul to do so. You hit the bronze figure of the withering old man. It pierces it in the side. You see a tiny tear escape from his eye.
And I'll start to reel it in, I guess.
It pops out of the bronze statue and flops into the water.
Fucking stupid.
I don't know how... Okay, so can I present an idea?
Sure.
And then figure out how to work it out. So Ernesto has a strong move called Divine and Inspired Path. So I'd like to have Ernesto figure out the weakness of this ship and point it out to Annette, who is much more capable than he.
Ah, okay.
And then hopefully add that damage over to Annette's damage. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I'm
give
willing to
advantage
negotiate
to-
things like that. Yeah, so we're
Yeah, yeah.
spending a strong move essentially to let Annette get a twofer in, if you will.
Yeah, to
Okay.
point out the glowing weak spot.
The glowing weak spot of the friend of Job. Well, as anyone who might be familiar with the Bible story of Job, there is one very clear weakness the man and his family had, and that is looking backwards. The weakest part of this ship is at its rear, where the rudders might be. You see the back sail isn't as up to snuff as it could be. You can see that should this ship, for any reason, ever turn around, disaster might befall it.
Interesting.
I did not write that down. I just made that up.
Love it. Hell yeah.
This is why you read the Bible, kids.
Is it?
I would.
TTRPGs.
For TTRPGs and TTRPGs alone.
I would communicate that to Annette. Annette, I don't think this ship can move very well. Like, look at all its armor is in the front, but its back is really weak. If we can maneuver around it, and Ernesto's kind of looking to the helmsman who is pitifully doing his job. If we can maneuver around it, then I think we can have a clear advantage.
Wonderful. Give me a harpoon gun. I want to use the weak move, judge your worth by the value to others. Since I am now being told this is where it is, like I'm valuable to the Deacon who has told me that this is where it is. So I'm judging my worth by that.
Yeah, Ernesto throws the harpoon gun he's been using.
Yeah, great.
You catch it. Annette, how do you plan to attack the back of the ship?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna attack the rudder. Actually, I'm not going to go straight for like the back sail or anything. I want to aim it towards the water, and see if I can hit the rudder to either cause damage to it by putting a hole in it, or just kiltering it off center so maybe it's unable to turn correctly. I would like to attempt that, actually.
Sure. To get in view of the rudder, what is your move to get up close to it? Are we steering the ship? Are you going full pirate warfare and swimming up to it? Are you doing something more magic?
I think the actual is she'll.
I could, as part of that divine and inspired path, Ernesto could run up and bump the helmsman off and like get you a clear shot, essentially.
There we go. I think that'd be a great idea.
Okay.
Because honestly, her first thought is to jump in the water. She deals with acid all the time. She's like, it's fine.
Well,
so I think that. Yeah, I think initially, like, she goes to leap off the side and then, like, looks and sees you already going up and goes, oh, actually, never mind. Ernesto has it. So, yeah, that'll be her as she takes up stance to attempt hitting the rudder.
Cool. Ernesto, you bump the helmsman, a man who is less of a man and more of a shadowy fog figure hovering over the ship's steering wheel. You do bump it. It does have mass. It does scream. It does go, what the fuck with you? And then it goes away somewhere.
I call him James.
James, the shadowy figure who steers the ship.
Yeah.
As he says,
I call him James.
what the fuck's wrong with you? I, like, bless his forehead and it burns.
Oh my God, stop doing that to me. I hate when you do that to me.
Shut up, James.
He has no form or figure or face. He's just a puffy mass of black, and he just kind of seeps through the floorboards back to the bottom decks. You steer the ship behind the friend of Job, a clear shot for Annette, and you fire the harpoon gun into the ship's rudders. The whirring, hellish engine that was burdening all your ears slows to a crawl and then eventually stops. You hear the voice of Alvar Bildad call out to his crew, saying, well, don't just stand there, retaliate and do something. And that something they do is they scream out, incoming cannon fire, and they launch a cannonball onto the ship. You take a W towards your shipwreck status. You are now 1 point of damage onto the ship towards wrecked, and this will continue happening every turn until you resolve the problem of the cannon. So for those keeping score at home, you now have 2 knots to resolve against this. The fight itself and now the cannonballs. And then it goes back to your turns.
Let's see here. So all we've got is harpoon guns.
And our imaginations, Admiral.
And our imagination.
Once again, I'll spend a point for work smarter, not harder. And I'm assuming we have some sort of flammable liquid on the ship, like an oil.
Absolutely. We've got oils, we've got whiskey, we've got whatever Annette smuggled on from her dress when she was drifting on the end of the sea.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Roaden has a few maltive cocktails kind of hidden because he's always afraid that the crew's going to turn on him, and like this is the easiest way for him to just, So I'm going to go get like 1 or 2 of those, and I'm going to try to aim directly for where the cannon is to set the wood on fire around it. And as he tosses it for a second, he remembers his father for the first time in like hundreds of years and heard him go, good arm, right here, as they're tossing in some little fisherman village, and hopes his aim is true.
Your aim is true, and you resolve the cannonball knot. It was only 1. So you launch your Molotov cocktail, it bursts into flames, you hear screaming, painful cries of imps around the cannons. Alvar turns around and sees the screaming imps, kind of like does a little vague gesture with his hand, and those imps vanish, kind of all dissolve into the sky, and a fresh new batch of imps appear, and he commands them and says, fix those cannons. But for now, the cannonballs are resolved.
Okay. I would like, now that we've got the imp on the ship from the first harpoon and is dead, I assume, to tie a cloth around this harpoon, fill it with gunpowder if we have any, because I assume we have pistols in the ship, don't we?
Sure. I'll give you gunpowder.
Okay, we can get some gunpowder. And then I'm going to light it and try to shoot it and make kind of like a makeshift cannonball.
So you're wrapping the imp in a cloth and gunpowder and launching it at the ship.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you a soul.
I'm more than glad to spend it.
Spend a soul. You pick up the imp. Any last words you say to it? It kind of like regains consciousness for 1 second and looks up at you and mouths, "Mama."
Have a good flight, bastard! And then just launch him.
A scream, like a scream is heard, rainbowing, arcing through the sky. The imp crashes onto the ship. You see more fire popping up, a tiny explosion. You don't hear anything from Alvar this time, but you do see tiny dust particles floating up into the sky again.
Heh.
I have a question. Do we see Alvar pretty clearly, yeah?
Yes, Alvar made himself seen. You just see a buff,
Great.
topless old man with a beard full of locusts.
Interesting.
Excuse me, not full of locusts, made of locusts.
Made of locusts. Could have been both.
Important distinction.
I have a thought process of, and hear me out. What if I take a harpoon gun? One of the other party members who are a part of my crew take a harpoon gun, and we tie a net on both sides, and we just shoot it at him.
In an effort to apprehend him.
Okay, great. I'm gonna look at my dear Deacon friend and be like, darling, would you mind lending me a hand? I need some help over here.
Absolutely. James, get back up here, please.
A little puff of smoke appears. What do you want now?
To survive. Hold this. And he hands the helm over back to James.
He grabs the steering wheel and in only the way that a black fog can, rolls its eyes. You don't see it, you just feel it.
Yeah.
I hand you a harpoon gun. Dear, just hold this for just a moment as I then take a net and start like tying parts of it. They'll forgive me later, I'm sure, as I tie the other side to mine. Like, on the count of 3, if you don't mind, I think shooting at our dear friend, the captain on the other side, I think that this may help take him down.
Excellent. Can I use a strong move here instead of a weapon?
Yes.
Yeah, great. I'm going to use the move Stand Against Evil. The strong move, Stand Against Evil.
Cool. I think that speaks for itself in this instance. So, since you're teaming up, I'll say this is 2 HP. You fire it at Alvar Bilbad. he is standing there, not unlike the way the guy from Pirates 3 does when his ship's exploding around him. And, Pirates of the Caribbean, we all, anyway, shrugs from the audience, whatever. Fine, fuck that reference, but whatever. The nets encapsulate him, and he falls onto the ground. He's completely apprehended, and yet all you hear from Alvar Bilbad is a piercing demonic laughter. And the ship itself takes its time to now make its next move. And, wow, another one. You hear from Alvar. He screams as loud as he can to his crew in an act of desperation. They're repositioning! Open fire! But no open fire comes. It sounds like they're just prepping for something. But that ship is on fire. Its captain is tied up in a net. It is on the brink. What do we do?
I don't know.
I with harpoon gun in hand, Ernesto loads another arrow from his body into it. But he notices that it's the blood that's on the arrow kind of sticks. It's viscous, but it is manipulatable. So he begins to write on the arrow, and he writes a piece of Saint Ignatius of Loyola's prayer, surrender. He writes, "You have given all to me. To you, Lord, I return it." And he shoots that arrow right at the incapacitated captain.
Cool. Using
strike with righteous fervor as my strong move.
Excellent. You spend a soul. You launch it. This is hell, so this doesn't actually happen. But in your mind's ear, you could swear for a brief moment you could hear a tiny choir. You launch that arrow straight into Alvar Bilbad. A burst of flame comes off of his body. He stands up, grasps at the helm of the ship. If he could melt, it would look like his face was starting to unpeel, revealing not the human visage he's been wearing, but maybe something a little bit more dark, blood, red, muscly, impish. And he screams out, "This isn't over, Mudge. I will take what is mine. I will take what Lucifer owes. You will return from whence you came." The entire ship envelops itself in a ball of fire. The fire lifts, and the ship has vanished. You are safe for now. And Ernesto, can you roll 3d6 for me?
Ooh, yes.
Just narratively, to do the regular move, ask whose job is this, I'm gonna look out into the lake of fire and think about God.
Whose job is this indeed?
3d6 resulted in a 9. 3, 5, and 1.
Ernesto, you are rewarded with 9 souls.
Oh.
You may distribute them if you wish, but they are yours to do with what you want.
Yeah. Everybody gets 2, except for Ernesto, he gets 3.
Perfect.
Blessed are the meek.
Yeah.
Blessed are the meek. So you feel the souls enter your little pockets. Souls are currency in hell after all, so they are tangible things that you do collect throughout your days. How they get into your pocket, how you have them as currency, how they appear, doesn't really matter. Who cares? But you have them. Now everyone can roll 1d6 for me.
As we're doing that, I'd like to think that Ernesto actually leans into his darkness and pulls the souls out of the air. And he has it in his hand, feeling that power and control, and he relinquishes it and gives it to his crewmates.
6 for Jenny, 4 for Rahrah, 3 for Ivy, and 1 for Ross. You may add that to your weapon supply.
Woo!
And also your food supply.
Woo!
As the ship vanishes, Captain Mudge comes out. He points to the sky. He goes, "Well, evening time has appeared to have befallen us." You have to take his word for it. You cannot tell. And as evening time falls, the captain brings out a small board with a game on top of it. He says, and now it is time for us to collect what could be rightfully ours. Anyone fancy a game?
The best part of the fucking day right here.
Best part of the fucking day. We get to gamble with the devil. So he places the board onto the center table of the ship. There is a center table now. Don't ask questions. And this is a sick board. Gambling is how to get enough souls to activate the Hellwhale's heart. Using the devil's board is no joke and oftentimes invites disaster. At midnight, the whalers gather round the board to read their fate and try to win some souls. You are going to bet your souls on the sick board. So just for the sake of counting here, Roaden, you currently have 3, if I'm not mistaken. Annette should have 2, Jacques should have 2, and Ernesto should have 5. You may bet any amount of souls you wish, and you just have to tell me where on the board you want to place them. That's all you have to do in this instance.
One on small and one on big. I've just come for fun, you know. You don't really ever expect to go home winning.
The first time Annette ever bet anything, she really refrained from betting at all, because to her, betting is worse than the things that she did as of how she was raised. Betting is like one of the worst sins. So she modestly will only bet 1. She's only to participate in the game because she's been talked into it.
And where would you place your soul?
She'll put it on 4.
On 4. Admiral.
He's gonna be a little risky here. He's gonna bet 2. He's gonna bet all of his souls here. He's gonna bet 1 on the number 3, like 3 pips.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's gonna put 1 on. He's gonna put 1 on big.
Okay, which brings me to Ernesto.
Ernesto's gonna bet 3.
3 souls.
Yeah. So 1 on 3, not the number, but the
bottom die.
The bottom 2 to 1. Yeah.
Yep.
1 on the number 10 and 1 on the number 11.
Okay. You place your souls on the board. And typically what happens is a small winged creature comes out and it appears before you, says nothing, has a little bow tie on, and drops 3 dice atop the board. The 3 dice we have rolled here tonight is a 1, a 5, and a 4. Maybe my dice up. Okay, so with the dice showing 1, 5, and 4 for 10 total, Roaden, you win 1 soul. Annette, you win 1 soul. Ernesto, congratulations, you win 6 souls. Jacques walks away with nothing. The winged creature retrieves its dice and vanishes back into the sky. And Captain Mudge, as he does every night, walks out with a small wooden chest, holding it close to himself, and says, "All right, as per usual, it is time to make an offering to the Hellwhale's heart, in the hopes that giving it souls will cause it to beat, and we can track it down. Jacques, I understand you have nothing to give tonight, so you are dismissed."
Ah, blast your eyes, always fucking rigged, and he just storms off to his chambers.
You may offer whatever you wish to this box.
I'd like to do the weak move, shirk a responsibility, and go do the move like I'm going to put 1 in, and then just not do anything.
Captain Mudge grins at you and knowingly nods. Goes, "You are dismissed, Roaden."
A pleasure.
Annette, would you like to make an offer?
I put 1 in of my 2.
1 goes into the box. The box rattles and shakes for a moment, but you hear nothing. He solemnly nods. He goes, "Thank you, Annette. You are dismissed."
Good night. As she goes to her quarters.
So it's you, Ernesto.
Ernesto goes over to the box and he's holding his 8 souls in hand. And he's just like counting them one by one. And he feels really happy. He feels a modicum of control. And he begins to kind of like subconsciously, maybe through rote practice, or maybe it was beaten into him, but he starts to say, "Stay with me, Lord, because I am weak, and I need your strength, that I may not fall so often. Stay with me, Lord, for you are my light, and without you I am in darkness. Stay with me, Lord, and show me your will." And he puts in 5. And then puts the other 3 in his pocket.
You donate 5 souls to the box. The box rattles and shakes, and Captain Mudge begins to say, "Thank you, Ernesto, you are this." But before he can finish saying it, you two standing there alone on the deck hear one small thump of a heartbeat. It only happens once, but it happens, and you both see it, and you both know what this means.
Ernesto looks right into Captain Mudge's beady yellow eyes, and he says, "Salvation."
It's awake. Get the others.
Yes, sir.
I'm so used to this behavior that she is actually humming to herself, "It is well with my soul," as she continues to just stab the knife down the shark. Still one hand like holding a bundle of the bottom of her dress as she's just like almost nonchalantly and daintily just sliding it down the side of the shark. Just, "It is well, it is well."
How are you the scariest motherfucker on this show?
You're all scary in your own right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Annette freaks me out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think
it's
that's
the hem, right?
The
Hem
scariest.
scare you.
Yeah.
You would not believe how many revival jams I have in the Hellwhalers playlist. Anyway.